Greetings everyone, this is Ehav Ever from the Chronicles of Ehav Ever, and today's video is going to be a short one about does Hashem have emotions like a human being? This is the introduction. So to basically introduce what I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be doing a few videos concerning the concept that I had a discussion with somebody about, concerning whether or not Hashem has emotions. Now, in order to preface what I'm going to be talking about in the main video, I guess, or videos that talk about this, there's some information that I have to kind of put out there as preliminary information. And I've talked about it in other videos, but I think I need to recap it here. So, in order to understand the general concept of Jews who hold by Torath Mosheh concerning Hashem, the basic principles that you can find are the following: that Hashem is the source of creation of all things. I find it better to use that type of terminology rather than say, like, for example, in English, a God. Because usually when you're talking about God in English, you could be talking about something that supposedly in someone's mind didn't create everything, and also is not the source of everything, and also is something that specifically is, you have to worship just because it says so. But this is a completely different concept. As an example, when you look at this slide here, by saying that Hashem is the source of creation or the source of reality, what we're basically saying is the following: that all physical principles that exist in the universe itself, as well as every concept that we have in the universe and everything that actually physically makes it work, Hashem created all those things. So as an example, that would include time, the ability for there to be past, present, and future, and the ability for there to be the concept of past, present, and future. Those things were created by Hashem. Another way of looking at it too is, like, for example, if you see the bottom right, the possibilities, whatever's possible in the universe. For example, Hashem created the possibilities also. Now, in terms of humanity, as an example, when we look at possibilities, we get to choose the possibilities that we have based upon how we're born, based upon a lot of different factors, including when we're born, things like that. But our choices, are, for example, somewhat guided by the fact that there are only a certain amount of possibilities. As an example, me being born at a certain time, when I was born, me being born a male, there are only certain possibilities, that are, available to me. For example, I can't decide I'm going to become a planet because that's just not possible for me. I can't decide, for example, I'm going to be the president of the world because that's just not possible. So there are certain things that are possible. The psychology that's available to all living things is something that Hashem created. And also it's important to note that Hashem himself, Hashem itself, doesn't rely on anything that it created. Meaning that, for example, Hashem doesn't, exist or gain strength from or power from the prayers of, like, those who pray to Hashem. It's just, simply prayer is something that is a human response to, our reality, that we live in. But Hashem also doesn't, didn't have to create anything. It isn't like Hashem was sitting there lonely, and saying, I want to create something because I need something to make me not feel alone. Everything that was created, according to a number of Torath Mosheh, sources, was something that, is created for the benefit of people, for humanity, not for Hashem's benefit, but for our own. And I'll get into that later in the other video. But, the first important point to point out here, one of the things I think also that I want to talk about is concerning the issue of time. Because of the fact that Hashem created the ability for there to be time, meaning past, present, and future, and also Hashem created the concept of time, based upon changes that happen in matter, things like that. Hashem is not subject to time. And also one of the things that's mentioned in the Torah, that Hashem, for example, doesn't change. This is mentioned in different places in the Tanakh. And there's, a person could debate about certain elements of what that means. But one way of looking at it is based upon, what I've presented here, for example, that because of the fact that Hashem created time, and because Hashem is not affected by time or influenced by time, Hashem is present in all aspects of time. Meaning that, for example, before Hashem created everything, Hashem was also existent in the time frame of when he created things. Hashem was also existent in the time frame after he created everything. So that means that, for example, Hashem talks to someone in the past, he's also talking in the, also available or present in the present and the future of future generations. So, it's kind of a metaphysical idea, but it's almost like saying if time were placed on a table, and, you have something that is able to interact with time in all aspects of time, meaning past, present, future, it would happen all at the same time. So for example, if I'm looking at the table in front of me that I'm sitting at right now, and I take, like, let's say, an object and say that that object is time, past, present, and future. Well, that means that because of my size compared to this object on a table that's, in front of me, it's in concerning everything that's influenced by time within that object, time has a past, present, and future element to it, where something that, lives, is born, it lives and then it like passes away. Where me being something that is outside of that time, I'm involved in all aspects of time. I'm involved in past, present, and future all at the same time, again, from the human perspective. So that's one of the issues, and again, I'll get into a little bit more detail of what that means, but that's an important point to kind of understand initially, that because of the fact that Hashem created time, because of the fact that Hashem created all these different aspects that make up the universe, Hashem is considered to be like outside of it, but Hashem is also not physical like we are. So that's one of the things that also comes up a lot in Jewish thought, that Hashem is not a physical being the way that we are. Hashem is not made of matter the way that we are. And if you were to ask, well, what is Hashem? Well, Hashem is beyond us. We don't even, go there, because we're talking about something way beyond us. I mean, so that'll kind of become clear, I think, in the next few videos I plan on doing on this topic. So one of the things that I think will help understand this issue is if we look at our solar system. This is a representation of all the planets in our solar system and their relation to the sun, and on some level their sizes compared to each other. So one of the questions that, when I presented this to someone, I asked was, okay, what would be the effect on our solar system if the Earth and everything in it and on it was removed from the solar system, i.e. destroyed, stopped existing, etc.? Meaning that if you look at the solar system and say, okay, let's, remove this, could the solar system continue to exist without it? Now, I think the answer would probably be yes. The solar system doesn't have to have any one of these planets in particular to exist. There may be certain functions that these planets, have that, like let's say, or the benefit of other planets. A good example, if you see Jupiter there, one of the things that I've heard scientifically about Jupiter is that it's considered to be almost like the vacuum cleaner of the solar system, meaning that if Jupiter wasn't there, we'd probably get a lot more asteroid strikes on planet Earth than we do. And also, when you look at Mars, Mars doesn't have a certain type of atmosphere close to Earth, so it gets a lot of asteroid strikes. So having the Earth in a particular location, in a sense, further away from the outside of the outskirts of the solar system, allows there to be life on this planet in a way that wouldn't be able to exist in other areas. Even if there is life on other planets, it couldn't exist the way it is on Earth. This is something that's currently known. So again, going back to the point that if the Earth wasn't here, the solar system could continue to exist. And by like token, because the creator of all things created the solar system, the creator of all things didn't need to make humans. It wasn't like there was some need that wasn't being fulfilled by there not being humans around. So then concerning question number 2, if our solar system stopped existing, could the Milky Way continue to exist? I.e., does the existence of the Milky Way require that our solar system be here, or can the Milky Way exist without it? And by like token, again, this is not our actual galaxy. This is just a representation of it. Funny story. When I was a kid, I used to see pictures like this and think that like maybe there was a probe outside of our solar system that had taken this picture. But then I found out, okay, well, the probes at the time when I was a kid had barely even got, were not even outside of our solar system yet. So it was really interesting when I, found that out as an adult that, oh, wait a minute, I thought that there were actually probes outside of our galaxy, because you see these pictures, and I thought these were actual pictures, outside of our own galaxy. But, and this representation, the Earth is so small in the galaxy that if you're looking from the outside, you would never even know that there was something here. You would never think, oh, there's a planet out there somewhere right there in that spot there where there's living beings there. You just wouldn't know. So the thing is the galaxy can exist, according to our current understanding, without there being a planet Earth here. If planet Earth were ever, destroyed, chas v'chalila, the universe could just keep, the galaxy could just keep going without it. And there's no like physical principle that we know of currently that says that the Earth must be here in order for the galaxy to continue. So stepping outside even further, question number 3 would be, based on the reality that the universe is full of other galaxies, if the Milky Way no longer existed, could the universe continue to exist without the Milky Way? I.e., does the universe need a Milky Way for the universe to exist or function? So what this means basically is what you see here, that these are different pictures, I think, from the James Webb Telescope of different galaxies that have been seen. And based upon what, is out there, there's a lot of different types of galaxies with a lot of different structures to them. And it doesn't, as far as we know, there's no universal principle that our particular galaxy has to exist or else the whole thing falls apart. It could be that the certain functions are no longer there because, the galaxies are there, but the universe can still continue. There's a lot of galaxies that can take its place, if you will, on some level. So this is the basic idea from the beginning that, if we're taking this back to Hashem, that Hashem created the structure. Hashem created the entire universe, and the universe is dependent upon Hashem, but Hashem is not dependent on the universe. That's one issue. Hashem created all the different elements and all the different physical properties and properties that we don't even know of that cause the universe to exist, whether it be the idea that we have currently about dark matter, white matter, things like that. All of these different ideas, if they are in reality how the universe functions, that's something that Hashem created, including time. The ability to really be time. Hashem is outside of that because Hashem created it. For example, Hashem is not subject to time. And also a very important point is that nothing created Hashem. So Hashem, for example, isn't reliant on something else to exist. Hashem doesn't rely on something else to give Hashem purpose, if you will. There's a basic concept that, for example, the will of Hashem and Hashem are exactly the same thing. Where in human terms, my will, my if you will, my desire to have certain things go a certain way and me are not the same thing. They're two kind of separate things, if you will. So this is the introduction I'm using to kind of start this idea of discussing about the idea of Hashem and emotions and things like that. And so in other videos, coming up at some point, whenever I'm able to do them, I'll talk a little bit more detail about that. But this is just the introduction, and I hope this helps. Take care. This is Ehav Ever from the Chronicles of Ehav Ever. Bye-bye.